guys, Jeff, and welcome to today's video. So today we're going to talk about the failure of my Zoom Xtech brakes. This is a video that I've been fully expecting to make for a while now. I mentioned in the install video for those brakes that I didn't expect them to last all that long or to be all that great, and that I would keep you posted whenever I would have an issue with them. Well, today is that day. So last year I installed these Zoom Xtech HB100 brakes on my rad Rover, and they've been working great for the most part. As I mentioned in the video, they were a lot quieter than the mechanical brakes that came with the bike. They were slightly more powerful, although really not by much. I ran them for about 1100 kilometers. The pads lasted for about 900 kilometers before I had to change them. Speaking of the pads, those are it right there. They're Shimano whatever pads. I always forget the name, but that's what goes in those. So if you have these brakes and you're wondering what kind of pads you need, well, there you go. And up until today, they really had worked pretty well, but unfortunately, as all things go, they had to break, and today was that day. So I laid them down here just to kind of show you what happened. So you can see all the grime there. If you look at that seal here, that essentially broke. Piston is in there. When you actuate it, the pad should come in, but they don't really, because the oil is not under pressure anymore because this seal is broken, and that is why these brakes are now going in the trash. So before I further discuss what I'm going to be doing about this, I figured it would be relevant to talk about why I installed them in the first place. So the first thing we need to know about these brakes is that they're typically called mechanically actuated hydraulic brakes. I find that that is a bit of a misnomer, because essentially any brake that uses oil pressure to push in some pistons, to push in some pads, to brake on a rotor is a hydraulic brake, and they're always mechanically actuated, whether the actuation is done at the handle or down in the caliper. But anyway, typically those are called mechanically actuated brake because the lever and the line are all mechanical. They're essentially the line that came with the bike, and then the only hydraulic part is within the caliper. But anyway, I wanted to try those because essentially I was unhappy with the Tektro mechanical brakes that came on the rad Rover. I think that's a pretty well-known fact at this point. In all of my videos, I mentioned that I don't like the Tektros, and I stick to my guns. I don't like them. So I wanted to try those. And for the most part, as I said, they were good to me. They were not as loud, and they were a little more powerful. So I was happy with that. And the reason why I wanted to try this mechanically actuated thing is because essentially on e-bike, you have to maintain a switch. Whenever you activate the brake, it cuts off the motor. To have that, the easiest way to do it is just to keep the original brake handles and change only the calipers out, and that's what I did. Also, those were pretty cheap, and they were recommended by a couple people on the rad upgrade group on Facebook, so I figured I'd give them a try for like $35-40 off eBay. I wasn't gambling on much, to be honest. I also figured it would make good video content for you guys trying out these brakes that are running around, and they're still quite readily available. Even during COVID-19, a lot of bike parts are sort of running out, but these are still kind of easy to find on Amazon and eBay and places like that. Now the question is, what am I going to do now that I have one of the brakes essentially fail on me? I could buy another kit and install those and keep the brakes that I have, but I decided I wanted to get this to the next level. So what I'm actually going to be doing is going full hydro. So I went to my local bike shop today, and they have a couple options available for me of much higher end stuff that I was expecting to put on the bike. Now, I'm probably going to get some SRAM Guide Rs because that's what the bike shop has in store right now, and they're doing me a pretty good deal on them. So I think it's probably what that's going to be. There are a couple of other options I'm exploring right now that I'm not going to go too much into, and I'm pretty sure the SRAM Guide Rs are going to be what's going to end up going on the bike. There's essentially two advantages of going full hydro. One is sort of the continuation of the same advantage of going with something like this. Whenever you build up some pressure with the oil, the elasticity of the oil gives you that little much more power. So when you got a full line of fluid essentially building up pressure to push on those brakes, it gives you a little more power. It's kind of like, you know, when you pull on a bungee, eventually it's going to pull whatever it's being held to that much harder. So it's kind of the same principle. I'm not a physicist, so I can't really explain it. That's the basic logic behind it. But the other big advantage, and that's really the reason why I'm going with full hydro, is that you can actually leverage the fact that the calipers can be much smaller to install 4 pistons inside of them instead of 2. So by having more pistons, you can get a larger pad in there, you can get more braking surface and more braking power. But being a big guy and having a pretty heavy bike that goes pretty fast, to me it was kind of a no-brainer that I would go with 4 piston, so that's what I'm going to do. But the big downside is with COVID-19, as I said, parts aren't readily available. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to source the kill switches for the motor. What I'll probably end up doing is installing the brakes in the next video, because I just want to get my bike functional and ready to ride. It's really hot right here in Rimouski these days. It's 31 degrees right now, which is unheard of. Basically any day, but especially in May. So I want to go riding. It's really nice out there. So yeah, I'm probably not going to install the switches at first. first. Down the line, I will most likely try to source some and install them. Question I'm not sure about right now is whether or not I'm going to run the lines through the frame or outside. I'm thinking probably outside just to save me a bit of a hassle, but we'll have to see. So anyway, guys, that's been it for me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace, guys.